Donald Trump won over 3,000 counties. Hillary won less than 60. So get over it. Today, Congress certified Donald Trump and Mike Pence's election to president and vice president. Yesterday, Salon.com published an alternate article titled, "At least 50 Donald Trump electors were illegally seated," by Stephen Rosenfeld. Here's the gist. An activist group, Americans Take Action, said that at least 50 of the 304 Donald Trump electors either didn't live in the districts from which they were appointed or held some public office, and that made them illegally seated as electors. Salon's article, it says that the group's action grew out of their effort back in December to get electors to vote faithlessly. You'll remember there was an SNL skit on December 17th that was a skit like a parody of Love Actually, where Hillary Clinton tries to get an elector to vote for a rock. And she warns that if the elector votes for Trump, then Trump is going to kill us all. So this Americans Take Action group is 15 paralegals and law students and some lawyers that have compiled over 1,000 pages of evidence and presented it to congressmen, Democratic congressmen, so that they could challenge the certification of Donald Trump's election. Now that's quite amusing when you remember that Hillary said that it was horrifying that Donald Trump wouldn't accept the election results, even though that's not exactly what he said. If you don't remember, here's a little bit from that.
I got to tell you, during that debate, Donald said something, well, he said a lot of things that were troubling, but he said something truly horrifying. He became the first person running for president, Republican or Democrat, who refused to say that he would respect the results of this election. Now, that is a direct threat to our democracy.
So today, the congressman from Massachusetts objected to the validity of the certificate from Alabama, the first one to be read, on the grounds that the electoral votes were not, under all the known circumstances, regularly given, and that the electors were not lawfully certified, citing Russian interference and violations of the Voting Rights Act. The objection could not be entertained because it was not signed by both the congressmen and senators. Joint sessions of the House and Senate prohibit debate, so an objection to anything has to be done in writing and signed by both a congressman and a senator. Other objections were made by House representatives against Florida, Georgia, Michigan, Mississippi, North Carolina twice, South Carolina, West Virginia, and Wisconsin for similar reasons, and they were all shot down by Vice President Joe Biden, who is the president of the Senate and therefore presides over joint sessions the exact same way. Every single time. Is it signed by a senator? No. No senator would sign it because they knew it was ridiculous. The final count today was 304 to 227, and I think the next runner-up was Colin Powell with 3 votes. So here's why all this is so stupid. Hamilton, in Federalist 68, says that it was desirable that the sense of the people should operate in the choice of the person, talking about the president, but that the end will be answered by committing the right of making it to men chosen by the people for that special purpose. I'm sort of paraphrasing. So essentially, he's saying that the sense of the people, the opinion of the people should be sought, and that's why we vote, one person, one vote, in our states. But our votes are not for the president. Our votes are for an elector, and an elector votes for the president. You vote for the elector of the party, and the elector from the party votes for the person. He explains that both the choice of many electors and their separation physically during their operation as electors should help shield them from heats and ferments, his word. Meaning, The protests that happened and were right after December 7th, and the threats to electors and things that were happening, that should be avoided most easily by having so many electors. So it kind of makes it pointless. You know, like, what are you going to do? If a small group of people wants to throw the presidency toward somebody against the will of the people, it'd be very difficult to go and threaten all 270 electors. And they wanted to ensure that the sitting president couldn't influence the choice of the electors. So no person holding an office that the president controls, not a senator, not a House representative, or another person in a place of trust under the United States, can be an elector. So the thing is, though, this final act of defiance, this final act by the Democrat Party to try to block the certification action, saying that 50 of the electors, which is enough to have brought it from 3 or 4 down below 270, and that's all they really needed to do, wouldn't have made any difference anyway. Other electors would have elected the same people. If you take those 50 out, who do you get? You don't get Democrat electors. You get other Republican electors, and those other Republican electors still would have voted for Trump. More importantly, the House is seated now, as of January 3rd. If the Electoral College fails to produce a majority for one candidate, then the vote goes to the House of Representatives. And they vote 1 per state. Guess who has the most states? Republican. So even if you were to challenge successfully the certification of the electoral vote, all it would do is force the House of Representatives to still elect Donald Trump. It's absolutely pointless from the point of view of someone who wants the government to run well. But if they want to virtue signal, well, then I guess there's that point. I don't see how it's that great of a point, because most people don't watch things like the certification of the electoral vote. So most people would never have noticed. These people are virtue signaling that they want to do away with the constitutional protection of the Electoral College, that protection from the tyranny of the majority. You see, the founders understood something that it seems the Democratic Party doesn't, because they're missing the point, I think. Hamilton said, "Talents for low intrigue and the little arts of popularity may alone suffice to elevate a man to the first honors in a single state. But it will require other talents, and a different kind of merit to establish him in the esteem and confidence of the whole Union, or of so considerable a portion of it as would be necessary to make him a successful candidate for the distinguished office of the President of the United States." Donald Trump won over 3,000 counties. Hillary won less than 60. I would think that that is of so considerable a portion of our nation. But people want the popular vote as if that's a prize worth achieving. Anybody who's vying for the popular vote doesn't understand how incredibly easy it would be to take away from them all that they feel like they'll have achieved if the popular vote is how we get the next president. You see, all it would take is for you to win Philadelphia, Chicago, New York City, and some cities in Texas and some cities in California. And you've got 30% of the vote right there. There are people in the country that can buy the votes of those cities. Literally buy the votes. Has no one seen Batman with Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson? People would have voted for Joker as he was gassing them to death because he was throwing out money. You think that's not possible? You think that's not an applicable lesson when it comes to the popular vote? I think Californians especially, since the difference between Donald Trump's popular vote total and Hillary Clinton's popular vote total can be found entirely in California. So Californians, especially if they want the popular vote, it's because they don't understand the Constitution. And if they don't understand the Constitution, they have no right to push their ridiculous ideas on the rest of the United States. So get over it. Hey guys, if you like the video, please click like below. If you want to see more of this kind of content, go ahead and subscribe. click the little bell right next to the subscribe button to get notifications of when I upload new stuff. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you want to see next. Have a great day. Be safe.